Hi, my name is Kiana Stockwell, and today I'm presenting my research on polling place closures after the 2013 Supreme Court decision in Shelby v. Holder. For some background information, the Shelby court case is a landmark case for voting rights. Many voting and civil rights activists refer to the court's decision as a major setback to achieving equitable access to the ballot. The Shelby decision invalidated preclearance provisions put in place under Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These preclearance provisions were measures meant to protect jurisdictions with a history of racial discrimination from implementing changes in voting law that could be discriminatory. Without these preclearance provisions, states were now afforded the opportunity to make changes to voting law without federal oversight. Many of these changes included the implementation of photo identification laws, restrictions on convenience voting such as early voting, increased registration requirements, etc. One political phenomena after the implementation of Shelby v. Holder was the mass closure of polling places across the South in jurisdictions that were once covered by the Voting Rights Act. My research asked where polling places in these jurisdictions were most likely to close after Shelby and why. Furthermore, I aimed to understand the political consequences of these closures on turnout rates. But why for so many is this such a big deal? Racism is a sticky ideology. Institutional policies and practices embedded in who we are as a nation have been reproduced over time, throughout slavery, the Jim Crow era, and today modern-day forms of suppressing the vote. So do polling places matter? I hypothesize that places with a history of racial violence will experience higher numbers of polling place closures. I use measures of slavery and lynchings to serve as proxies for historical racism. Furthermore, I expect that places with a larger share of Black and Hispanic populations today will experience a greater number of polling place closures. The second part of my theory lays out the idea that polling place closures will depress voter turnout. Overall, I collect data on polling place closures from the Leadership Conference Education Fund and other relevant data on county covariates, including demographic, population, and election data, and, as I said, historical data on slavery and lynchings as measurement proxies for racism. I utilize both fixed effects regression analysis and OLS regression with interaction terms, with the unit of analysis being the individual county. My main findings suggest that a history of slavery has a negative impact on modern-day polling places. Counties with higher percentages of slaves in 1860 experience more polling place closures today. Figure 2 best displays these results. As you can see, slavery has a negative and significant impact on the dependent variable, the change in polling places. The second biggest takeaway from my research pertains to the second part of my theory. I found that counties with high Black populations are likely to see voter turnout decrease when the number of polling places decrease. Figure 3 and Figure 4 best depict these results. Figure 4 shows the average marginal effect of changing polling places on turnout with a 90% confidence interval. It shows this effect for different values of share of African American population in 2010. As indicated on the x-axis. As you can see, counties with really high shares of Black Americans are most likely to see a significant change in turnout due to a change in polling places. A key takeaway from this research overall is that historical variables serve a purpose, and it is important to take into account these perspectives when understanding present-day political phenomena around race and politics. Slavery in 1860 is negatively related to polling place closures after Shelby v. Holder. And while conclusions may be drawn about the impact of these closures on turnout, there is certainly a more nuanced story here that would benefit from continued analysis and study. Also worth noting is the fact that Democratic counties are more likely to add and not close polling places. Overall, this research is meant to begin the exploration of a huge political phenomena related to voting rights, and ask others to critically analyze and question how changes in voting law may impact various racial groups, especially those that have been historically disenfranchised.